What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley. You can find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that is Scott Savage. You can find him at Savage Scott. Happy Friday, brother. What are you doing this weekend?
Oh, Friday really snuck up, but this weekend I have some catching up to do. I don't want to allude to what's in the stories today, but I have some games I need to clean up fast.
Yeah, the backlog is ever growing.
That's right.
It's not stop. Like, I can't keep up at this point. It really kind of... Remember the days where you buy one game and that's all you'd ever play?
Admittedly, it's been a while for me.
yeah, it's been years since I've had those. I think I was 7. That's a long time ago. We're not going to go there. But coming up on today's show is the Division's new title goes free to play. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition file size is not that small at all. And, well, FIFA cashes in on one person in particular. But a PSA before we get started, the Covenant House main mission charity stream is coming up on May 15th. The event will bring together professional gamers, content creators, casual streamers, and their audiences to help raise money and awareness for real everyday heroes. Youth experiencing homelessness, survivors of sex trafficking, and those at risk. And it's all hosted by us, the ITG crew, and others. Going to be here all day on May 15th. Check out mainmission.ca for more details. Now, if you haven't able, or you're not able to join us live, every day, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. over at twitch.tv/theofficialITG. You can join us later over on YouTube, InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services around the world, and TV networks and streaming platforms around the globe. Scott, let's get into today's show. We're going to start off with Ubisoft's free-to-play. The Division title, Heartland, is coming. Ubisoft announced the Division Heartland, a free-to-play game set in the Tom Clancy's Division universe. Developed by the original Tom Clancy studio, Red Storm Entertainment, the Division Heartland will be a standalone form from the main Division series. It's planned for release on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC in 2021-22 window. No details have been offered besides this, so it's currently very unclear as to what kind of game the Division Heartland will be, beyond its free-to-play nature. Ubisoft does say that it will be an all-new perspective on the universe in a new setting. So we have a quote here. In the past 5 years, the Division has grown from a very ambitious project at Ubisoft to a world-renowned franchise reaching 40 million unique players. Explained Elaine Core, executive director of Ubisoft EMEA. We are very proud of what our team have accomplished with the franchise and the amazing universe they have created. The potential and depth of this enables us to explore new and exciting content that will please loyal, long-term fans of the Division and new ones alike. Scott, lots going on here with the Division. They're a non-stop force right now. If you haven't played the Division 2, man, people are missing out. They're having comics made. They've got all kinds of stuff. They got a show coming as well. Dude, there's lots on the news front when it comes to the Division.
That sounds really interesting to me, actually. And I am one of those who needs to catch up on the Division, so it's
backlog.
Really only up to my imagination to figure out what this title is going to include.
Well, so kind of when they go free to play, you think, did they change the perspective? Ubisoft recently did this when I reviewed the latest DLC out of Immortals Fenyx Rising, The Lost Gods, I believe is the last one I just reviewed. And they changed the entire perspective. Scott, this is a third-person perspective, looter, shooter, and is done extremely well. I'd hate for them to kind of step in and change that whole mechanic around. Free-to-play means a lot of things to a lot of people. Does the free-to-play model concern you at all when we've already seen the Division 1 and Division 2 come out and have such great success?
It does make me unsure because there is a large amount of time between now and release date, it seems. If they're planning for a 22 window, then that to me says that they're going to put a lot of effort into this. This is going to be a AAA title. I of course don't know this, but as opposed to something more slapdash, if they had put in, do you think this is a battle royale version?
Oh my god, dude, I never even thought of that. How is that not even an option? You think it is? So Heartland, can you see that? I can absolutely see this becoming a battle royale. Why wouldn't they?
I think it could be possible with the helicopters and the dark zones and
Oh, wow.
grab your loot and get out of there kind of scenario. I could see it fitting well, but of course, I have no details on this. This is purely speculation.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we're all speculating at this point. But dude, if they can play the line of like Vigor with the Division, oh man, I'm so in. That sounds so good. They have their online multiplayer stuff, right? They have the dark zone. You can get in there and you get your loot and get out, and you can interact with, regular PvP players or as well as PvE, and have that scenario kind of play out. So definitely curious to see where this one leads, but that could have a bigger grand scheme when it comes to that, because it's like it's not that big, right? Like it's a small multiplayer touch. It's really good. It's really done well, but you can have multiple teams in there, but it's not a battle royale scenario when you have 100 or 150 people now in this case. Like even when you get into Call of Duty, what are we at now? 250 people? Like seriously.
I believe 150, but that's already really stretching the bounds of what is possible. I think without quality loss, it's hard to imagine that many more people put.
Well, yeah. So how many more battle royales do we want to see, though? That's the other thing. But Red Storm, dude, they came, like, we're talking about Rainbow Six way back in the day with Red Storm Entertainment. Nice to see these guys come back around. And we'll definitely keep an eye on where they're heading next. We're seeing more companies, though, Scott, come to E3. Companies that are announced now. Adding to the list is Bandai Namco, Gearbox, Sega, Square Enix, and Exceed Games. I looked into Exceed Games because I wasn't sure who they were. Dude, it's not going to be any of our play styles, I'm going to say. We'll go with that one.
Okay. It's funny, when I read Sega, I hear it in the good old Sonic intro. Sega!
Every time, right? Every time, for sure. Companies that are already confirmed were Capcom, Microsoft, Nintendo, Take-Two, and Ubisoft, which will be hosting its Ubisoft Forward event as part of the show. Hopefully, we will see Beyond Good and Evil 2, Scott.
That is one title I'm very hopeful for.
What do you think we're going to see out of the newly announced companies that are coming over? Square Enix, dude, they're on right now. There's 25, I believe it's the 25-year anniversary. I want to say it's 25-year anniversary of Tomb Raider, right? So they're gearing up towards that. So they're going to bring that into the mix. But what else can you think you think we'll see?
Ooh, it's hard to say. I'm excited for something from Bandai Namco because I believe it's been a while since they've been in the spotlight.
Sure.
And Sega, actually, I think they may have a hand in bringing out a new Total War game, which really excites me. I believe the next one is Warhammer, but I'm not exactly sure on that. So there's a lot of things that we could see, but I'm just excited to see that these companies have confirmed, because it was a little rocky. We weren't sure how E3 would look this year, but it's going to be as good as the participation is, I believe. And this is a lot more participation.
Well, it is, right? We're starting to see more companies come back into the fold, which is nice because E3 has been really stagnant over the last few years, never mind with the whole pandemic. Even before we go into the pandemic, before that, it was starting to get a little light-footed around the show floor and even at the event itself, right? Like it's just been kind of dwindling down, I think, in the industry. And I kind of wonder now at this point if the pandemic has actually helped the E3 organization to pick things up and step it up and showcase what this industry is all about. I'm excited. Scott, how excited are you for this year's E3? Still no PlayStation to be taken note of as well.
Yes, that is interesting. Still waiting to hear when they're going to pop up, but I'm really interested to get some information. E3 is a big deal. It has been for so long that I really hope this is kind of a rekindling of E3. To your point, the pandemic maybe lit a fire under everybody to kind of put themselves back out in the spotlight, kind of take back the market share, so to speak. But this E3 will be interesting to see because it is going to be streamed free of charge from June 12th to the 15th. So we will all have the opportunity to see.
Absolutely. I'm definitely excited, man. I love E3. Always have. Hopefully they'll be able to figure things out and smooth things out and get that hype back, right? We need all the big names in there for their participation. We already have Microsoft. We have Nintendo. And then, we have Ubisoft, Take-Two. Like, we've got some great names in there. Gearbox is there now as well. Are we going to see anything out of Borderlands, you think? Or are they done now?
Oh, I would be surprised if they were completely done.
Yeah.
But I would be also surprised if they just came out with something like Borderlands 4. I think that would be a little unimaginative. So
yeah,
I think there'll be something in the peripheral universe there. There's a lot to work with.
There is, absolutely. We think you see a new title out of Gearbox, though? Something new they tried. What was that hero, the looter shooter that they tried, and it just flopped? That didn't go over very well at all. I can't remember, Battleborn or something on that line, I think it was called.
Yeah. I'm afraid to speculate, but again, I wonder what Battle Royale they may bring to the table.
Oh, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Dude.
It's the season.
What if we got a Borderlands Battle Royale? Would you be down for that?
I would definitely check it out because Borderlands is known for having their loot drops, their weapon generation. Goodness. There's a lot of crazy, wacky stuff that could happen.
Yeah,
and it would be a very interesting thing to see, kind of as a less serious version of Battle Royale.
Yeah, it would be one of the biggest cartoons out there. I think it'd be cool though. It'd be definitely different to see. But let's get into some Bloodborne series in early development for HBO. An early version of the script exists along with some concept art. The story will be similar in structure to movies like Dread or The Raid, with the protagonist set with a seemingly simple task but has to work through a series of battles with enemies. Each episode of the proposed 8-episode season sees the protagonist fighting a boss from the game in the climax. The script and concept art will be a visual feast for the eyes and in keeping with the Souls brand of bloody violence. Sony is currently dissatisfied with some of the elements of the script and is undergoing a rewrite. Though many elements, including the cinematic boss fights for each episode, remain, no one really knows the casting yet, so there's still a lot of details in the works to kind of iron out. Scott, not either one of us, I don't think, have played Bloodborne. I know I haven't because it's just not my style of game. But what are your thoughts on this?
I have attempted twice, I believe, and been humbled. Been humbled twice.
Yeah,
it is quite a specific flavor of Souls-like.
Sure.
But this is interesting to see. There's a lot of really deep lore and really interesting visuals and a lot of things that will lend well to a cinematic adaptation, whether that's movie or series, really. And I like that they're sticking with boss fights because that is kind of the bread and butter of what a Souls-like means.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see this. 8 episodes isn't very long.
No.
So that kind of brings into question, are these 40-minute episodes or longer perhaps? But in any case, I think this will be really interesting. I'm just kind of waiting to see is Ryan Reynolds going to take the lead role in this one?
Well, I don't think the protagonist says too much, so I don't think it'll really spotlight Ryan Reynolds very well.
That's true.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. But a lot of stuff coming out of Sony when it comes to the other side of the industry, right? We've seen them now talk about all their movies coming out. Uncharted. The Last of Us now is actually getting changed from a movie. That failed. Too many conflicts going on over there and getting changed into a TV series. We're seeing Ghost of Tsushima becoming a movie. Like, dude, Sony just keeps ramping up their properties and moving it into another side of business for them.
Oh, it's really cool to see because that'll add a lot of hype to already established series, and it gives a chance to spotlight some of the lesser known details about it too. The Last of Us being a show series might work out really well with the pacing of the story. You would be more of an expert than I, but it seems like there's a lot of story to tell.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many ways they could take that. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm like so excited to see how this series plays out, because remember when everybody jumped on watching The Witcher on Netflix and then everybody's like, damn, I need to go play that game again, right? You get that itch. And I think that's the good side about doing this. If they do it right, it gets that bug and then it gets your IP out in front of faces again. Your game is finished, but at the same time, you bring in a different avenue for people to check out what could be, and they haven't. Oh man, I haven't played that yet. Now that I've watched this, I should go play that. And a lot of people will do that. Those who have kind of been skeptical of maybe on some of these titles, all of a sudden, now because they watched it, will want to go and play the game. I think it's a smart move on Sony's part.
And it's effective even if it's not quite done to full excitement levels. If I go and watch Hitman there's a lot of critiquing of the movies in the Hitman universe, but playing one of those would still get me super hyped for the next Hitman, or jumping back into 2 or 3.
Dude, I'll never forget my interview with Jane Perry and David Bateson. And I asked David what he thought of the Hitman movies, and he went, "Oh, they're awful." He said, he apologized for the movies. Like, that's it was so bad. I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry." Like, oh man, it was kind of somewhat the reaction I was expecting, but at the same time, he took it even further. It was awesome to see. It was so funny. But all right, let's move on. Because one of the biggest topics, and I think one of the biggest concerns when it comes to the gaming industry, is loot boxes. We touched on loot boxes and how they can be spent crazy and how people just get sucked into it. Well, one teen spends $8,000 on FIFA on Xbox, highlighting EA's predatory game design practices once again. Now, let me preface this, but I took this article from Jez Corden over at Windows Central, and I took chunks of his article. I definitely highly recommend you go read his article. It is so well written, but I wanted to just kind of highlight on some of the things that are going on. Dude, it's so dry in here today. This is killing me. Hang on one second. I'm talking too much, Scott.
I'm trying to quantify what $8,000 will buy you in terms of loot boxes. He must have rolled everything that's available.
You would think, right? So EA has been in the spotlight for predatory game design practices before, and most likely will be again. Star Wars Battlefront 2, with its pay-to-win light mechanics, was met with furious backlash from core gamers and shooter fans. However, EA spotlight franchises, most notoriously FIFA, effectively have pay-to-win mechanics baked in as a fundamental level in the FIFA Ultimate Team game mode. So they short-formed it with FUT, combines the most nefarious aspects of the addictive game design, pay to win, and repeat spending, targeting individuals who may be particularly susceptible to these predatory design conventions. So let's get in with here's what happened, okay? The heartbreaking post on Mumsnet from an anonymous user, doesn't matter who it is, describes a scenario where her son was caught spending £6,000, which turns out to $8,300 on FIFA on Xbox. I've already seen people respond with, well, it's the parents' fault. But honestly, setting up parental controls is fairly complicated and laborious, even if you're technology advanced. So the post describes her son has been particularly hard hit by the UK's lengthy pandemic lockdown period from February to September, and then from December to April. The majority of UK schools were shut down, with kids pushed onto Zoom or Microsoft Team calls to do their work. Also, socialization was canceled, and the news feeds bleat 24/7 about how dangerous it is everywhere. Okay, so let's get into, Scott, there's a couple things we can break down here, right? There are 3 people to blame here. 1, EA, right? They're not going to get away with that. That is their fault for part of this. 2, the son. He's a teenager. He knows what he's doing. Okay. And 3, the parent. There are 3 parties involved in this, and I'm speaking from experience because my son has burned me in the past too. Not $8,000, but he did all of a sudden. I'm like, hey, how come I got GTA on here? I didn't have it on Xbox before. Now I do, right? So all of a sudden it just pops up. I'm like, oh my goodness. I thought I had set it. I did not set the parental thing. They know, as a teenager, they're well aware what they're spending money on and how that works. They are now, at this point, more adapt to the ecosystem and how these games function and work on a daily basis, that they know what to do, Scott. Now, this is coming from my perspective and my perspective only. So if you don't agree with me, absolutely understand. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm talking from personal experience when it comes to loot boxes, because they can get addictive. You want to roll the next one, Scott. You want to see what you can get out of that next one. So he's built his FUT team up, rolling these boxes over and over and over and over again. And we just covered the fact that EA said I believe it was last week or earlier in the week, that they don't push people, that they weren't pushing people to this side of their game. They wanted to push them from last year's game to this game. Okay, yeah, sure. But you still are rolling in the fact that you can now get all these loot boxes and cash in to the point where this guy spends $8,000, Scott.
Yeah, that is, regardless of what their intentions are, this is still another update to a venue for what a lot of people perceive as gambling. And
yes,
that's just that's a whole topic of its own, but it's still EA, as much as they have tried to distance themselves from being a pusher, they still are the venue that obviously the money is funneling down.
No, for sure. So how do you prevent this? Okay, so I'm on the inside, right? This is what we do, Scott. We cover this industry. We're on our consoles all the time. I'm on my PC. We live and breathe this world. If you are an outsider, and I say like outsider, being a parent who goes, here you go, child of mine, enjoy your console. And then you're like, hey, dad, mom, can I purchase a skin? Sure. You entered your credit card and then you forget about it, right? I don't know how much I've spent alone just on Fortnite skins. Dude, they dropped Paragon skin, bought it. They dropped God of War skin, I bought that. They dropped the Halloween stuff, I bought that pack. You know what I mean? So it just rolls in and it just, your credit card number stays on the console. It does for a lot of us. A lot of us find it easy, it's convenient, and it just sticks around. Now, you can set passwords and stuff so you can have yourself protected that if you're not on your account, or even on your account, in order to purchase something, you have to enter a password. If you don't have that set up, and you just keep hitting the button, dude, you just keep racking up your credit card.
Oh, it's brutal, and it seems a little too accessible. Yeah. Even with the password is one thing, but what is the ultimate solution? You have to use prepaid credit cards to kind of limit your loss in that scenario. Is that really the only way?
But EA's not going to do that. Right? EA won't do that. They like their scenario right now because they do rack in so much cash each and every single day, week, month, year. It makes them millions of dollars. And unfortunately, this one in particular individual got roped into $8,000, man. But at the same time, a teenager, in my eyes, would understand that they're spending money.
Yeah, I don't think you can plead ignorance on that one. It's a pretty cut and dry system.
Yeah, you would think, right? But it's hard to when you're just when you keep hitting the button, all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, there's like a couple $100. I had no idea I went that far. But to get up to $8,000, you got to be sitting there a while to be cashing all that in.
Yeah, I don't think that was a very fast action.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Let's get into some Nintendo exciting news, man. I'm kind of curious about this one. Learn to make games from the minds at Nintendo with Game Builder's Garage for Nintendo Switch. I got a press release yesterday on this one. Have you ever dreamed of creating your own video game? Man, who has not at this day and age wanted to make their own game? Well, that dream can become a reality with the Game Builder Garage software, launching exclusively for the Nintendo Switch system on June 11th. With the new software, kids and parents, everyone in between, can have fun learning to create and share their very own video games. Dude, this is a cool concept. It's $40 on June 11th. It's something to kind of keep your eye on if you were interested. It's an introduction level, right? It reminds me of Little Big Planet. It reminds me of Dreams, where you can go out and make your own thing, right? So here's an opportunity. If you are interested in anything like this or getting your kids involved and kind of give them an understanding of the fundamentals of how you build and get into game making. Dude, it's exciting times. Do you think you're going to check it out at all? I want to check it out.
I think that's really interesting. I'm going to start formulating my idea and try and see if I can come up with something unique. This actually reminds me of stories my father used to tell me where he was programming games for Atari, I believe. But he had to have a separate plug-in keyboard that had the right programming buttons all programmed in there. So it had its own system, its own environment that people really did make a lot of games from. So I think this could be very successful. And with that success, it might bring a lot of new ideas. And I want to say new IPs, but not necessarily owned by Nintendo and the like. It's unlikely to become an IP. Sure. But I think this gives a lot of creativity to the gamer, which is something that doesn't happen too often outside of Mario Maker.
Yeah. No, it's very cool to see Nintendo move into this area. Scott, we're getting late in the show like we always tend to do, so why don't we wrap things up with game announcements and releases for today?
All right. We have some announcements here. There is a title by the name of, I have to check this one out myself because I don't know too much about this one, but Super Animal Royale is coming to consoles, the first being the Xbox Game Preview system. And this is coming out on June 1st. I have to really look at that one. We joke around with battle royales, and having Royale in the title makes me think that that's what this is, but
yeah, it is. It is.
And there was a leak on Judgment set to be announced today. This could be yesterday. A sequel to Judgment was leaked on the PlayStation Game Store in Japan. And this one is called Lost Judgment. But it's worth remembering that Judgment was named Judge Eyes in Japan. So this might not be the title that we are expecting to get in the West. This could be a Japanese only release. According to the page, it's releasing in September this year, and it's coming to both PS4 and PS5.
Nice.
In any case, it all lines up with the Lost Judgment trademark that Sega registered back in March. And at that time, it was written that they weren't entirely convinced that it was related to Judgment. It could be its own standalone project. So not absolutely certain on what's coming down the line there. But if you're a fan of Judgment, this is worth looking into. There could be a sequel on the way. There is another title that we have covered, actually. I believe we have a review on this on our main channel. My Time at Portia, or Portia, depending on who you ask. This title is coming soon to mobile. And that's an interesting venue for this.
Yeah, it is.
And that'll be both on iOS and Android systems. That is worth noting. I forget that mobile is split into two. There's still a console wars, if it were, between the two mobile platforms.
Yeah, that's fair.
But in addition to these announcements, we do have game releases coming out today. There are definitely some titles of note. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance is coming to the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Series S and X, and the Switch. Resident Evil Village, this is one that I'm looking for, is coming to the PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Series S and X, and PC, omitting the Switch there. There's one that we've been excited about here.
Man.
Outlaws and Legends coming to the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series S and X. And then Chroma Quaternion. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but that is the Xbox One and Series S and X. Non-Guns Doppelganger Edition coming to the Xbox One. Flowing Lights, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Blink Rogues coming to the Switch. And Total Arcade Racing coming to the Switch. Kind of a throwback to a top-down racer.
Nice. All right, Scott, what's their most prevalent title on here that you want to play?
Oh, it's quite a draw, I think, actually. It's between Resident Evil Village and Hood Outlaws and Legends. I'm not quite sure which one has my preference yet, but sure. I'm excited for both of those for sure.
Well, I'm a wuss, so I will skip on the whole Resident Evil Village. That's up for Nate. Nate will be actually reviewing that this coming week for the show, so make sure you swing back to InsideTheGame.ca to watch that one. But for me, dude, it's all Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. My weekend will disappear because that's what I'm playing. Goodbye, world. Dude, I'm so in. If anybody's over on the Xbox Series X, hook me up, Cutter28 with a K, and yeah, let's play some Hood. Because, man, I'm already in. Steve's in, and so is Corey. So there's already 3 of us. Nate will be in as well, so there's 4. But, man, dude, I'm so pumped for that game. I can't wait.
Yes, it's definitely going to shake things up.
Yeah, absolutely. But we shook up today because that is it for ITG Daily. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. Don't forget, you can always join us live Monday to Friday at twitch.tv/theofficialitg. But if you can't join us live, no worries. Hit us up at InsideTheGame.ca. Watch us later on YouTube. You can hear us over on podcast services or check us out on TV streaming networks around the world. Don't forget to check out the main mission.ca, our charity stream that's coming up with the Covenant House on May 15th. Everybody, this is Friday, so that means have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week inside the game.